Welcome back to my channel. Today, we explore the value of specific coins, the top 4 most valuable Abraham wheat penny coins, value in today's market. So let's get started. First up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny, but with a twist. This one has the D mint mark and is in dirty condition. You may think its value is low because of its state, but trust me, it's worth more than you think. Let's find out just how much. Now, you might be familiar with the 1943 steel pennies. Those were made during World War II as part of the US government's efforts to conserve copper for ammunition. But did you know that a 1943 penny with a D mint mark, even in dirty condition, could be worth a lot more than face value? Stick around and I'll explain why. In 1943, due to wartime metal shortages, the US Treasury decided to produce pennies using steel instead of copper. The 1943 steel penny was minted in large numbers, with over 1 billion produced. These coins have a distinctive steel appearance, which is quite different from the usual copper pennies. Most of these pennies were mass-produced, but because they were made from steel, they're not as common today in great condition. Now, what makes the 1943 steel penny with a D mint mark interesting is that it was minted in Denver, and while many of these coins are still around, they are far from being considered worthless. Here's the key. Even if your coin is in dirty condition, like this one here, it doesn't necessarily mean its value is low. While a dirty penny won't fetch as much as a pristine one, the rarity of the 1943 steel penny still plays a big role in its market value. The 1943 penny with a D mint mark is still valuable in today's market, even with some dirt and wear. Generally, a 1943 steel penny in good or fine condition can be worth around $1 to $3, but don't be fooled, even a dirty one can be worth up to $5 or more, depending on its overall condition. Now, the condition matters a lot. If your coin is in circulated or worn condition, you're looking at a price of about $1 to $2. But a well-worn penny with a legible mint mark and clear features could be worth around $3 to $5. Dirty coins like this one tend to fall into that lower variety, or if it's in especially rare variety, it could fetch more. So what about the mint mark? The D mint mark, indicating it was struck in Denver, is significant. The 1943 pennies minted in Denver are not as rare as some other mint marks from that year, like the S mint mark from San Francisco, but they still stand out due to their historical importance and their place in American numismatic history. Even in dirty condition, a 1943 steel penny with a D mint mark can be worth more in the right market. Coin collectors and investors keep a close eye on these, and prices can vary depending on the coin's condition, rarity, and demand. At an auction or with a dealer, prices can also fluctuate. In general, expect to pay $1 to $5 for a common 1943 steel penny in average circulated condition. But if it's in better condition or has a special variety, it could go for $10 or even more. So, if you have a 1943 Lincoln steel penny with a D mint mark, even in a dirty condition, it's still worth taking a closer look at. It might not be a fortune just yet, but it's a great piece of history, and you never know, it might be worth more than you think. Next up, the 1946 Abraham Lincoln penny without a mint mark, and what it's worth today, even in extra damaged condition. So you've got a 1946 penny lying around, and it's seen better days, huh? Well, even if it's got some extra damage, it could still be worth more than just its face value. Let's take a closer look at why that's the case and how much this coin could be worth in today's market. First, a bit of history. The 1946 Abraham Lincoln penny was minted after World War II, a time when the U.S. economy was recovering from the war. The penny features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the familiar wheat ears on the reverse. This was a common design that lasted until 1958. Now, this penny doesn't have a mint mark, which means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The lack of a mint mark is quite common for pennies from that time, but it's the condition of the coin that determines its value. Let's talk about how extra damage affects the coin's worth. Now, when we say extra damage, we're talking about coins that have been worn, scratched, dented, or even corroded over time. While this may make the coin look a little rough, it doesn't always mean it's worthless. Some collectors actually seek out damaged coins for their historical significance and character. Extra damage can happen for all sorts of reasons. It could have been dropped, exposed to the elements, or just been in circulation for many years. And while it's not in pristine condition, the 1946 penny still has value due to its age and the fact that it's part of American coinage history. So, how much is a 1946 penny worth today, even in extra damage condition? Well, let's break it down. A 1946 penny without a mint mark, in average circulated condition, meaning it's a bit worn but still readable, is typically worth around 3 to 5 cents. But with extra damage, we're looking at a slight drop in value. Even with the damage, a 1946 penny like this could still be worth around 10 to 15 cents, sometimes even a little more, depending on the severity of the damage. It's not a huge fortune, but it's definitely more than face value. Even though this 1946 penny has extra damage, it still holds some value for a couple of key reasons. First, the coin is made from copper, which can make it valuable to collectors interested in the metal itself. Second, it's a piece of history representing the post-war era and the early years of the Lincoln cent design. Coins like this may not be high-ticket items, but they are still part of a broader collection that can increase in value over time, especially if the damage is less severe than it looks, or if the coin has any special characteristics, like a rare die variety. Now, let's talk about the current market for these coins. Even in extra damage condition, 1946 pennies are still in demand from collectors who specialize in circulated coins or those looking for unique pieces with history. For example, a heavily damaged 1946 penny could still fetch a few dollars if it's part of a collection of well-worn coins. But don't expect it to break the bank unless it's in better condition or there's something unique about it. So if you've got a 1946 penny without a mint mark that's seen better days, don't toss it out just yet. Even in extra damage condition, it still has some value, typically around 10 to 15 cents, maybe more, depending on its specific wear and tear. Next up, the 1955 Abraham Lincoln penny. This coin might be one you have in your collection, or maybe you found one while hunting through your spare change. But did you know that a 1955 penny in extra fine condition, without a mint mark, can be worth much more than face value? Stick around as we uncover its true worth in today's market. That's right, folks, this 1955 Lincoln penny, even without a mint mark, can be a real treasure if it's in extra fine condition. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how much you can expect to get for it and why collectors are so interested in this particular coin. Let's get started. First, a little history. The 1955 Lincoln cent is part of the famous Wheat series, which ran from 1909 until 1958. The obverse of the coin features President Abraham Lincoln, and the reverse shows 2 ears of wheat, hence the name wheat penny. This design was a staple of U.S. currency for nearly 50 years. Now, the key thing about the 1955 penny is that it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which means it doesn't have a mint mark. This is important because while there are other Lincoln pennies with mint marks, the lack of one doesn't necessarily reduce its value, especially if the coin is in extra fine condition. Let's quickly talk about what extra fine means. In the world of numismatics, extra fine refers to a coin that shows minimal wear. It's a coin that's been in circulation, but still has most of its original details intact. For a 1955 penny, this means you will still clearly see Lincoln's features, the details of the wheat stalks on the reverse, and the text on the coin will be sharp and clear. So, an extra fine 1955 penny will have a bit of wear, but it will still have a lot of the original detail, unlike one that's heavily worn down, where the text and imagery might be difficult to make out. Now, let's get to the good stuff, the value. A 1955 penny in extra fine condition without a mint mark can actually be worth a lot more than you might think. In today's market, you can expect it to fetch anywhere from $1 to $3 on average, depending on its exact state and the demand from collectors. But here's the interesting part. Because the 1955 penny is part of a popular series and has a lot of demand among collectors, a coin in extra fine condition, especially if it's well scented and the details are crisp, can even go for $5 or more in some cases. So, factors affect the price of a 1955 penny in extra fine condition. There are a few things collectors and dealers look for. First, the overall condition. The sharper the details, the higher the value. If your penny has been well cared for, it could fetch a premium. Second, the eye appeal matters. If your penny has a nice patina or looks particularly attractive, collectors may be willing to pay more for it. Lastly, it's all about market demand. A well-circulated coin might not have the same value, but as interest in Lincoln cents grows, prices for well-preserved coins like this can increase. While the 1955 Lincoln penny isn't as rare as some other coins, it's still highly valued due to its role in American history. The coin was minted in the early 1950s, a period of post-war prosperity, and it remains a symbol of that era. Collectors often seek out these coins to complete their collections or to invest in them as a piece of American numismatic history. And while the 1955 penny doesn't have the same high-value price tag as some rare errors or key date coins, it's still an important part of the wheat cent series and can hold its own in terms of value. So, if you have a 1955 penny in extra fine condition, even without the mint mark, you've got yourself a valuable coin on your hands. It could be worth anywhere from $1 to $3, with some potentially reaching $5 or more if it's in excellent condition. Not bad for a penny that's over 60 years old. Next up, the 1944 wheat penny, but this isn't just any wheat penny. This one has no mint mark, is blackened, and comes with some damage. How much is it worth today? Let's find out. The 1944 wheat penny, often confused with the famous steel pennies from 1943, is part of a series that was minted from 1909 to 1958. The coin features the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse side and Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front. Now, the key factor we're looking at today is this specific coin, a 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark. This means it was minted in Philadelphia. But what really makes this one unique is its condition, damaged and heavily blackened. Normally, the value of a 1944 wheat penny would depend on its condition. A well-preserved one could be worth a few cents, but when you add damage and discoloration like this one, things change. Typically, the value of a 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark in decent condition is around 10 to 20 cents. However, when we are talking about a blackened, damaged coin like this, the value drops significantly. Coins in poor condition like this one, whether from being exposed to harsh elements, cleaned improperly, or simply worn down over time, typically sell for only a few cents, often less than $1. To be more precise, this particular 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark in blackened and damaged condition could be worth anywhere between 5 to 25 cents. The key here is that even in poor condition, these pennies hold some numismatic interest, especially for collectors of unusual or rare finds. But remember, condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A coin in excellent shape could be worth much more, but once a coin is damaged or heavily worn, its value significantly decreases. If you happen to come across a 1944 wheat penny in better condition without any damage and with no mint mark, you might be looking at a value closer to $1 or more, depending on the market. So, while your blackened, damaged 1944 wheat penny may not make you rich, it's still a fascinating piece of American history. 1977 Washington silver quarter without a mint mark. You might be wondering, how much could a 1977 quarter be worth today? Well, stick around as we explore its value in today's market and what makes it so special. Let's start by talking about the 1977 Washington quarter in general. The coin features a depiction of George Washington on the obverse, and the reverse shows a majestic eagle. But here's the key thing. 1977 was a year when the US Mint struck regular circulation quarters made of copper nickel, not silver. So why does a 1977 Washington quarter still catch the attention of collectors? You might have noticed there's no mint mark on this particular coin. That's a clue right there, because unlike other years, in 1977, quarters were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't place a mint mark on their coins. Now, there are no significant variations between a 1977 quarter with or without a mint mark in terms of the coin's basic composition. But let's take a moment to clarify the importance of condition when it comes to value. This 1977 quarter in good condition is what we're focusing on today. Good condition means the coin shows some wear, but the key design elements, like the date, the portrait of Washington, and the eagle, are still visible. So, what's it worth? In today's market, a 1977 Washington quarter in good condition typically holds a value of around $4 to $6. Why? Well, it's because the silver content is one of the factors that keeps its value higher than a standard copper-nickel clad quarter. This quarter contains 90% silver, making it desirable for collectors and silver investors alike. In fact, if you look at the price of silver today, which hovers around $24 to $25 per ounce, the silver content of a 1977 quarter, roughly 0.1808 ounces, gives it a silver melt value of about $4.50 or so, even before factoring in the collective demand. But remember, if the coin is in a higher grade, say from extremely fine to mint state, the price can go up. A well-preserved 1977 quarter could sell for more to the right buyer, and we've seen prices as high as $10 or more for coins in excellent condition. While the 1977 quarter without a mint mark isn't as rare as some other Washington quarters from different years, its value largely depends on the condition and current silver prices. It's a great addition to any collection, especially if you're a fan of US silver coins. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just admire this classic piece of American history, always remember, the condition and the silver content are key to its value. If you have one of these quarters lying around, it's definitely worth checking for its condition and current market value. Next up, the 1974 Washington silver quarter without a mint mark, specifically one in extra fine condition. You might be wondering, what's it worth in today's market? Let's break it down. First, let's take a quick look at the 1974 Washington quarter. You'll notice that this coin has a portrait of George Washington on the front and an eagle on the back, typical of all the Washington quarters produced from 1932 to 1998. Now, what makes this 1974 quarter special? Well, unlike quarters made in other years, the 1974 quarters are composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, making them part of the classic silver series. But here's the catch. The 1974 quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and it was not stamped with a mint mark. This means it's a bit harder to identify, but also makes it interesting for collectors. As we mentioned, quarters from 1974 without a mint mark were struck in Philadelphia. This is a key detail because quarters with a mint mark, such as those from Denver or San Francisco, can sometimes be worth more due to rarity or special design variations. But today, we're focusing on those Philadelphia 1974 quarters that lack a mint mark. Now, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. A quarter in extra fine condition is one where the coin shows some light wear, but the key details, like the date, Washington's portrait, and the eagle, are still sharp and clearly visible. Extra fine coins are considered well preserved, with minimal wear on the high points of the coin. So, if you have a 1974 Washington quarter in extra fine condition, how much is it worth today? In today's market, a 1974 Washington quarter in extra fine condition is generally worth around $6 to $8. This value is based on a combination of factors: the silver content, the condition, and the demand from collectors. Now, let's talk about the silver content. A 1974 quarter has about 0.1808 ounces of silver. With the current price of silver sitting around $24 to $25 per ounce, the melt value of the coin is about $4.50 to $5. But the additional premium for the coin's collector appeal can raise the value to $6, $7 or more, especially in extra fine condition. Keep in mind that values can fluctuate based on silver prices and collector demand. If the silver market goes up, so will the value of your 1974 Washington quarter. And if the condition is higher than extra fine, say mint state or uncirculated, you could see prices jumping even higher. So, if you have a 1974 Washington silver quarter in extra fine condition, it's definitely worth holding on to. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, it's a coin that can bring some value, especially if you're looking to complete a set of Washington quarters from the 1970s. Next up, the 1985 Washington silver quarter with a D mint mark. And while this one is in what we'll call dirty condition, there's still some interesting things to consider about its value. Let's dive in. This is a 1985 Washington quarter, and as you can see, it has the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front. Now, here's an important detail. This particular quarter was minted at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark right under Washington's neck. Coins minted in Denver are marked with the D mint mark, and they're quite common, especially when compared to those minted in Philadelphia or San Francisco. But before we go deeper, let's talk about something important for collectors: the condition of the coin. As you can see, this quarter is in what we'd call a dirty condition. It's a little grimy, maybe tarnished or showing some wear. While this may not be the best look for a collector's coin, it's important to remember that even coins in less than perfect condition can still have value, especially if they have silver content. This 1985 quarter, like most Washington quarters from 1932 to 1998, is composed of 90% silver. This is a huge factor when determining its value, even when it's in dirty condition. In fact, silver content is a key reason why coins from this era, like this 1985 quarter, are still sought after by collectors and investors. Right now, silver is valued at around $24 to $25 per ounce. A standard Washington quarter, like this 1985 version, contains about 29.8008 ounces of silver. This means the melt value for the silver alone is around $4.50 to $5, almost the same value as the coin's base silver content, regardless of its condition. But of course, the condition plays a role in the collector's market. A quarter like this one, in dirty condition, will likely see a reduced premium over its melt value. In most cases, collectors won't pay extra for a coin that's heavily tarnished or dirty unless it's rare or in a highly sought-after condition. If you find a 1985 quarter in dirty condition, it's not going to fetch a premium price, but it still holds value because of its silver content. Generally, this coin in dirty condition is worth between $4.50 and $6, which accounts for the silver content and the fact that it's still a widely available coin from the 1980s. A quick note about cleaning your coins. While cleaning can make a coin look better, it's important to be careful. Over-cleaning can reduce the value of a coin by scratching or damaging the surface. If you're thinking of cleaning a coin, make sure you're doing it with the right tools and methods, or just leave it as is. For a corner in dirty condition like this one, the value really depends on the current market for silver and demand for Washington quarters from this era. But in general, don't expect a huge premium for a coin like this unless it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. Even with a little dirt and tarnish, your 1985 Washington silver quarter with a D mint mark still has value, primarily due to its silver content. So, if you've got one of these in your collection, don't write it off, especially if you're keeping an eye on silver prices, which could give this coin a little boost in value down the road. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you next time. Happy collecting!